How's it going, everybody? This is Cody. I'm with Jake from Fury FC. If y'all know him, it's hard not to miss him in this story. Go ahead and just kind of give us a little bit brief intro about you, my man.
Yeah, I've been fighting for Fury for quite a long time. Started with their amateur series back in 2012, actually.
Yeah,
So it's been a long road of fighting and training, and pretty much a full-time martial artist. Work at the gym that I train at with Alex Morono and Ricky Tercios and our striking coach Matt Wald. And apart from fighting for Fury FC, also corner for Alex Morono for the UFC. Excuse me. Just got done with the fights this last weekend with Alex taking that short notice fight against Ponzinibbio. Unfortunate, didn't get the win. Had that slight
right.
mishap at the end of the fight, but other than that, just full time martial artist, and have definitely been through my who's and what's of opponents and injuries, and
Right.
in the gym injuries, in the fight injuries, and outside of the life injuries as well. You know, it's been quite a fight life for sure.
I'd say it's been a hell of a ride so far. What made you want to get into fighting, basically? Like when you were a kid, what made you think, hey, I'm gonna be a martial artist, I'm gonna be an MMA? Like what made you want to go into that aspect?
I always wanted to be a pro athlete. I am a little bit smaller than what a football player would need to be, and a little too short to be a basketball player. So it was just one of those things where I always knew that I wanted to be a pro athlete. And then in high school, I started kind of getting into the backyard brawling and
Yeah.
meeting up with your friends in the front yard and duking it out, and just kind of found a talent for that. And when I got out on my own, I was able to basically get with a couple of friends that I did that with, and then we joined a Gracie Baja. And basically from there, I actually met Alex Morono and Ricky
Nice.
Tercia at the
Nice.
gym. They were actually just cross training. They were just there to hang out and get some training in with one of our coaches, who was also a pro at the time. His name was Gerardo Abadi. He actually unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago now, and well, about a year and a half ago, and so it was unfortunate there. But yeah, he introduced me to them, and then as soon as I met them, I kind of just realized that they were both very serious about their careers and wanted to follow the path that they were setting. And every time I would train with them, the light at the end of the tunnel seemed
Right.
easy to get to. So I moved myself to the woodlands and started training as much as I could. And when a spot came open at the gym, I jumped on it and became a part of the staff and kind of never looked back
Right.
from there.
So for somebody wanting to get into like the fighting game, would you say joining the gym is the best thing you can do right off the bat, or how would you approach that with somebody like a new person walking into the gym or wanting to fight?
Yeah, the new generation is completely different from the old generation. Like my generation,
Right.
10, 12 years ago, there was a lot more out of gym stuff going on. But at the moment right now, we have a great program for kids to kind of train themselves up young, experience jujitsu and Muay Thai in the very beginning of the stages of life of, from 4 to 6 year olds all the way up to the teen
Right.
years. And then from there, we kind of let them take their experiences in high school. Like we tell them to get into other sports, like find your athleticism. We kind of do tell them they should definitely join wrestling because that's something that's going to be able to facilitate fighting easier.
Hmm.
Now, we actually have two new amateur fighters that did that. Like they trained all throughout their childhood, and now each one of them is 2-0 as a pro or as an amateur, and the other one's 1-0 as an amateur. Just like I said, had that childhood amount of training, and now as adults, they're back in the gym, training up. So yeah, joining a gym is definitely the right way to go. Having the right atmosphere in the gym, I say, is pretty important. Every single coach that we have is a competitor. Every single person that is allowed to teach the kids has fought, is fighting, or is a top level coach for fighting. So that's the other thing is it's not just go to a gym. It's
Go to the
it's
gym. Yeah.
find the right gym to go to, and elect, Alex Morano, head coach, myself, Ricky Tercios, head coach, and then Matt Wald, head coach. That's four head
That's
coaches
a heck
that,
of a lineup. Yeah.
yeah, I could, not many other gyms can compare to that. So that's a big time thing, is finding a gym, but finding the right gym as well that can kind of help you through those beginning years of training.
So what is a typical like training regimen for you? If you're getting ready for a fight, like what's your typical, this is what I do on this day, this day, this day? Like what's your kind of lineup for you?
So I actually have the same lineup for when I'm just hanging out having fun,
Yeah.
or when I'm training for fight camp. The difference is the intensity level, and then whether or not I'm training in the gi. I am a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu under Alex Moreno.
Mm.
So during out of camp, I train in the gi every single day. I do basically Monday is a 2 day training session. Tuesday is a 2 day training session all the way up to Thursday. And then Friday I take off. Saturday is our hard training day where
Yeah.
we get down a little bit harder with each other. And then Sunday is a day for me to, kind of take off, but I also do a lot of private lessons. Like I said, a full-time martial artist.
Yeah.
So I make my money through training. But so when we do cross train with another gym, which is a War training facility. That's where like Trevin Giles trains out of, and a couple other up and comer pros. And basically, we cross train with them on Tuesdays. They come to our gym in the morning, and then on Thursdays we go to their gym in the morning. And that way we can just get different looks to be able to kind of tell us what level we're at, or if we need to work out more. And then that's my every day of the week. I do that style of training. And then, like I said, when fight camp starts, it's more so I stick to the same training regimen, maybe add in a little bit of like running to the mix,
Yeah.
and then obviously a diet change in order to get onto the weight that I need to be on to get to the weight class of 145. But yeah, it's a full-time thing. Like, one thing that we kind of tell the amateurs is, it's no coincidence that me and Alex and Ricky are all at like the top areas of the sports that we're in, the leagues that we're in, is because we take this seriously. We try to be full-time fighters, whether we're in camp or out of camp. Every day is a training day. Every day is a day to get into the gym and do our thing. So it's very important. And so we just kind of keep everything going. Sorry, my kids are
You're
here.
good, man. I promise. I have six brothers, so I completely get it. Trust me. So like how different is like the leagues, like you were kind of saying, like LFA, you have PFL, you have Fury, you have UFC, like how different are all those kind of leagues?
Man, oddly enough, they're very close to the same. I mean,
Mhm.
production value is kind of where things start to change up slightly. I dabbled in LFA for a little while. I went and fought for them a few times, 3 times as a pro so far. And I mean, they have a great production. They go to UFC Fight Pass, and that was kind of like my way of trying to get that harder style of competition.
Mhm.
But I'm a forever Fury guy. Like I said, I started with them as an amateur for Cage Combat, and then I went pro with them as well. Took my few fights with other leagues. I went to Colorado and fought for a promotion called Paramount
Yeah.
once, and that was actually one of my favorite fights too, because it was
Right.
high altitude, and
Way
I
different than
fought.
Texas. Wait.
Yeah, much different from Texas. I fought their number one featherweight down there, and had a great showing. And then from there came back to Fury, and had just done well since then. I did have my few injuries with my last LFA fight. I broke my leg in the fight,
Yep.
in the first round, actually. So that was
And you were
unfortunate. I
still
fought for
fighting.
3 rounds
You haven't said you were
on the
still
broken
fighting.
leg, but and that was unfortunate. And then right after that injury, I did go into the injury list kind of for a while. Not only from the broken leg, but then I went on that hunting trip and got shot. And then, so I was on the injury list for about 2 years. And then basically from there, pretty much COVID hit right as I had gotten shot as well. And so that kind of made it to where I did take an unwanted break from
Right.
competition. It did definitely set me back from where I wanted to be now. But after the injury was done, got back with Fury, got a good match. I think I fought Justin Lin and
Yep.
fought him, and that was kind of like my can I still do this fight?
Yeah.
And because I had lost kind of a little bit of feeling in my right hand and usage, so we had to make sure that everything was still working correctly. And then from there, just got back on it. Just jumped back on the horse and started trying to ride myself back to the UFC. It's still in the process right now. I fought 3 times since the injury,
Yep.
and Fury. The one thing about them is, and I've watched them from the very beginning. I mean, I think my first fight was on Cage Combat 11, and then now we're on Fury 77 is
So,
coming up,
yeah,
I believe.
I think so.
So
Yeah.
it's been a long road for Fury, and their production value now is, I mean, top of the line. I'm from the sound system to the lights to the cage. Everything is extremely professional. The promoter Eric Garcia is amazing. He takes care of the fighters. He makes sure that we're getting the right matchups. He understands the process of wanting to get into the UFC. And he's definitely an awesome promoter. And then the rest of the crew that works for Fury really takes care of everybody on a really high end. And LFA was great too. They had a lot of good steps. Most of the times I fought for LFA, I was going out of town, and so they always took care of me hotel wise and everything like that. And same thing. Production value was great, but like I said, I am a forever Fury guy, so I do love the Fury show, and love to have been a part of the build up to get to all these shows. I'm actually going to be I'm looking to get booked right now for Fury. Um, I think 79 is the one I'm trying to jump on, which is in February on the 5th here in Houston again.
Nice.
Um, and then I had, this year wasn't my best year of competition. I had one fight. I had 3 booked. One made it to one. I was supposed to fight Boston Salmon back in February, and had I got 2 kids, and unfortunately
Right.
got sick. They got the flu, and then I got the flu, and it just happened to be on fight week. So by the time I was cutting weight and getting into the fight, I just was so ill. I was literally not able to hold any food down after cutting weight, and my coaches just on a safety level couldn't allow me to fight. And then from there, I then fought again. Scheduled up, trained up, everything went well. Fought Louis Luna, got the guillotine in the 3rd round, so that
Yep.
that that was a great showing, a good hard fight. There was definitely some back and forth from you know me trying to choke him trying to choke
Right.
me, and then clutching up in the 3rd and catching a guillotine in the first 17 seconds of the 3rd round. So that was a notch in there. What was cool is before that fight, I also kind of called the guillotine to the people at my gym. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a guillotine. I've hit a
Pretty
lot of
sure I'm gonna get it. Yeah.
And then from there, I did have a fight lined up with Jesse Butler, and then that one unfortunately got injured in camp, and then got all healed up, and probably going to reschedule with him for this February matchup, as long as everything is done correctly on the promoter side. So it is one of those things about fighting, is you do have the drawbacks, but then again, that goes back onto the value of each promotion. And that's one thing about Fury, is I've been with them for so long, and basically considered a Fury vet. So the promoters understand. We understand you guys are beating each other up every day, and these
Right.
injuries happen. That's the other thing, is if you do look on my record for like Tapology or SureDog, when it does show like the canceled fights, pretty much every canceled fight I have, I've tried to rebook and gotten that fight. Like
And gotten it back.
I fought Peter Stanonik. Was scheduled with him for LF or for Fury. Then that fell through, and then I fought him for LFA. And then I fought Shaquem Richardson, who's actually a great training partner of mine now. But I had scheduled with him once, and then I got injured, then scheduled with him again, then he got injured, and then scheduled with him again, and then we fought each other. And so definitely never backing down from any fights, but there is those mishaps of training, and then like I said, the Fury show takes care of everybody and makes sure that we get to the right fights at the right times, and if there's a drawback, then we just kind of revamp and reschedule. And I do like greatly appreciate the show for understanding those situations. And yeah, so like as a person who gets to coach in the UFC for Alex, and I'm back there. I go to the press conferences, I go to the weigh-ins, I go to the official weigh-ins and
Right.
all that stuff. Like when you're back there at the big show, and let's just say the UFC is the biggest
Let's just
show.
say, yeah.
And so it's when you're back there and you see the production value and you see what the fighters are doing and going through. I mean, the only difference with maybe Fury to UFC is a timing, because the UFC is very on point. Everybody's on the radio. If you're supposed to be in the lobby to get on the bus to go to the weigh-ins at this time, then you're there at that time. They have a guy waiting for you. He calls a bus up. It doesn't matter if other fighters are there. You jump on the bus. You go hit your weigh-in, and so timing really is the only difference. And then of course, like the UFC Performance Institute's pretty dope as well. And maybe Fury will be on that level one day, but that's
Right.
the other thing that sets it apart. But yeah, that production value is very high class with Fury. That's why I like fighting for him. So
So talking about like the drawbacks and everything like that, like how big of an effect would you say like your mental health kind of how big is that in the fighting game? Like it's not all just physical. Like how would you kind of go into details what I'm trying to say about how you focus on mental health in that aspect, like focusing on getting back into fighting performance, basically. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, honestly, that goes back into who you surround yourself with. I mean, you got to have coaches that understand what you're going through. Life gets in the way constantly. You got bills, you got
Yeah,
relationships, you got
because you're
I
you're
got
another person. You're still a person at the end of the day. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I got kids, and then there's health issues. There's all these different things, but it's funny actually. One thing that I talked about with Coach Safe from Fortis when he was in the corner with Alex is the one thing that separates the champions from everybody else. It's not their physical, it's not their ability to go 5 rounds. It's their mental, it's their
Right.
mindset. If you truly believe that you're supposed to be somewhere and you make a way no matter what happens, then you'll eventually get there. So if your mindset is right, if you understand to just constantly push yourself, then you'll make it. And that doesn't mean to say you have to be the hardest guy in the world. That doesn't mean you have to kill yourself to show up every day. It just means you have to try every day. And as long as you're trying every day, as long as your mindset is telling you that you can make it, and you just got to do these adjustments and change your schedule here and change it there, then you just do it. And it's not easy. I got a family, I got
Right.
kids, I got a wife. They demand a lot of my attention, and I got bills that I got to pay to make sure I
Right.
support my family, and that requires extra time. I'm one of the lucky few that gets to work at the gym that I fight out of, and so my work is my training. But that doesn't mean I can always do fight training. Sometimes I got to do 20 or 30 private lessons a week to make sure all the bills are paid for the month, and then make sure that I then make sure my mindset is also pushing me to train myself so that I can stay on that top level. And again, it's not easy. It's definitely it
Right.
will test your mental for sure. And that is one of those things where it will sift out the weak-minded people, like the people who can't handle it, the guys who, oh, I don't have enough money to train, where I don't have the right diet. I've seen guys that are super skinny and they're super tall, and then they can't get to the right weight class, and then their excuse is, oh, I've lifted weights and nothing ever happens. I can't gain weight, and so but I can't make this low weight to be able to fight, but I'm too small to fight the bigger guys. And it's like that's a mindset. Like, if you can't figure out how to make yourself gain weight, hire a nutritionist. I have one,
Right.
and it's just one of those things where once you eat correctly, once you diet correctly, then when you lift, you'll get bigger. And it's like that's just one aspect of it, but it's there's a million excuses in the world to say this is why I couldn't do it. There's a million more excuses to tell people like, well, this is why I have to do it. And so that it's the mindset that really separates the greats from the everybody else.
Because we definitely seen it before in like in fights where all of a sudden they're just mentally checked out in fights. People I've just literally I've seen it in the blink of eye, just all of a sudden they're gone, they're checked out.
Yeah,
So it's definitely you've seen it before.
yeah, and that's the thing is like that carries into your fighting. Like no matter what position I get into, whether I'm on top or on bottom, even in my last fight,
Yeah.
getting choked rear naked, and
Right.
everyone in the crowd is thinking, "Oh my gosh, he's about to tap."
He's about to
But
tap, yeah.
in my head, I'm like, I can get out of this. I can get out of this. I can get out of this. And even if the crowd starts to fade and I can barely hear anything because I'm about to pass out, I'm literally telling myself I can win this fight. I can win this fight. And it's like it's that mentality, that mindset that pushes me through to make it through the rough parts of the fight and clutch it up and keep going. And yeah, I've seen many men break in the cage. I've coached guys that have broken. I've seen guys break under the guys that I'm coaching, and it's just one of those things where it's let's say 20% technique, 50%, or 20% technique, 30% physical, 50% mental. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
grit. You need that mental grit to push yourself. You have to carry that I'm better than everybody else mentality while still maintaining that humble personality. And it's hard, but
Right.
it's the necessities of training and fighting.
So to kind of recap everything, when do we expect you next? Let's talk about that one more time. When should we expect you next in the cage?
So I'm at the moment right now. I'm looking to go back into Fury for February 5th, and I think that's going to be Fury either 78 or 79. And possible opponent. Right now I don't want to say anything because I don't know. It could be a
Right.
rematch, a rescheduling with Jesse Butler, but I do consider myself to be the best 45er in Houston. So, whoever they got, whoever's ready to go, I'm ready to go, and we'll get it going. And this next one could be the last one before the big show starts. But if it's not,
Right.
then I'm down to keep it going. I've asked to fight the champs for Fury more than a few times. So if he watches this interview, just let him know I'm ready to
I'll
go.
definitely maybe I'll send it to him just for you, man.
Yeah, yeah. So he's good to go and ready and wants to get it going. Then I'll get strapped up before I get taken to the big show. So
Right. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on, man, and talking to me. It was definitely a pleasure talking to you. Um, we'll definitely have to meet up sometimes. We're both in Texas. I'm in the Dallas area, so we'll definitely have to meet up sometime, my man.
for sure, man. I appreciate the interview.
Thank you so much, man. I'll talk to you a little bit. All righty.
All right, later.
See you.